doing an interview with me. I really, really appreciate it, Vanessa. And I think doing interviews with my former clients really allows potential clients to have that kind of what is it? Not evidence, but kind of just say, oh shoot, I can be that too. So I guess I wanted to ask you, how have you been going over the last, because I know we finished last week. How have you been going with just implementing and embodying everything that I've taught you over the last 8 weeks?
Honestly, it's in the beginning is very hard work, like especially when it feels like it's work, like I don't know how to explain that, if that makes sense. Like the beginning when you just start off, it's uncomfortable. And I remember you telling me in the first session, it's going to be very uncomfortable, it's going to be very hard, a lot of honesty and like looking inward and being like really fucking honest with yourself. And I remember thinking like I didn't really understand what that meant, like how could implementing new habits could be uncomfortable. I didn't understand, but honestly it is, in the beginning it was a little tough. Even now it sometimes it does feel tough. Even there's moments where it feels like it's good and things are going great, you still get those moments where it's like fuck, and you feel it's like waves, up and down. But I think that what really has helped me from coaching with you is just the fact that I'm understanding that, the universe is always working in your favor, like the bad and the good is all in your favor, nothing is ever for the bad, and that's one takeaway, the huge that I've taken away moving forward. When I deal with stuff, it doesn't feel like the end of the world. I don't stay in my head about it. Another thing that I've definitely taken away is the boundary setting. I'd never realized how important setting boundaries is and how much that can give your energy a shift for the better, when you remove things and people that aren't serving you anymore. It really just helped my growth. And I never knew how to set boundaries or stand up for myself, or what it meant to truly love myself enough to put them and enforce them. And I feel like that definitely has helped me a lot too. And like it's been up and downs, but having you there to definitely, hear me out and, just hold space for me, and just the feedback you've always given me, and like I've taken it in my day to day. And there's just sometimes, even when it gets bad, I think about your voice in my head, and I know what you would tell me, and it's like it gets me through. And it's good, to have those tools and really implement them, and it really has helped me so much. I definitely have noticed that. I feel like for me, one of the biggest things for me was the fact that when I would overthink or about what I didn't like in my life, like it would really put me in a really low point in my day-to-day, my mentality, just the way I'd carry myself. I'd get in a really low place where I would feel like I couldn't get out of. And definitely after, talking to you and working with you, like that low place, it doesn't feel like I'm stuck. It doesn't feel like I'm lost. It just feels like, what, like it's exciting, because now I know that this is hard. It's a hard moment, but it's actually for the bigger picture. It's gonna be good in the end. Like I'm gonna come out great. And I'm great now. Even I'm just allowing myself to feel and know that things are getting better, and this is helping me. Like it's been nice. Like I genuinely, like I've learned so much. I'm so grateful. And yeah, that's
Thanks, Vanessa. You're so sweet. I remember at the start when we hopped on an enrollment call, just the person you are now. Like, do you remember that version of yourself that hopped on with me the first time and you were like, I just need someone to just help? And I was like, I am ready. If you're willing to give me 200%, I will match you. And you really did. And I just wanted to acknowledge you, because I think like everything I said, you did. Like every single thing I told you to do, you did. And it's been able to just pay off, because like, for example, like right now I know you're going through a tough time, but you're still able to be so resilient and not be bogged down, but be like, no, this is just a bit of darkness. But it's like waves, like it's toxic positivity to think, okay, life can only be good, good, good.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I just want to also acknowledge you because before we hopped on the interview, me and Vanessa, we were talking about like just what's been going on. And I just want to just acknowledge the fact that you're embracing this part of yourself that a lot of people run away from. A
Hmm.
lot of people run away from this sadness, from, the difficulties in their life. So I just want to just acknowledge you for just sitting in it and just
Yeah.
being okay with it and actually liking it because knowing that it will get better.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely the mentality that I have now when it comes to any negative emotion, it's like I don't see it as negative anymore. And I feel like that's what would bring me down so much, is seeing it as like something horrible, negative, like, but now the fact that I see it as something that's aiding me and helping me grow and something that is teaching me something, it's a chance to look inward and heal and, process that mentality shift is what definitely has helped me in my day-to-day life with just dealing with whatever is going on.
Mm.
That's important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And like, what's one thing, or what are a few things that you have noticed in yourself that have been different? Whether it's yeah, you know.
Yeah, definitely I'm more careful with my energy, who I'm around, who I allow into my space. I've definitely uh distanced myself from a lot of people, not because, I don't care for them, but I just, I guess I just really started looking at the people around me and the value that they brought into my life for what it really was, not just for my own validation and wanting just people around me just because, I just really paid attention to who was around me. And I, acted accordingly. There was a lot of people that were just draining me, that weren't, true friends, people that I thought I wanted in my life that I knew deep down just weren't serving me. I made the hard choices to distance myself and to, cut certain people off. And, I've noticed that definitely has improved my overall state. Also, like, saying no to things I don't want to do, or people pleasing. That definitely, those were things that I would do a lot. People pleasing, go and do things I really didn't want to do. I've just been more assertive, more down to saying no, even if it's uncomfortable. And, that part of me that wants to people please and wants validation, gets very uncomfortable and saying no and standing up for herself. But definitely after working with you, even now, like, I'm learning to say no and not do things that I don't want to do. And um not associate myself with people I don't want to be around anymore. That's one. Another thing is to run towards fear and do things that actually scare me, that I would not do before, that I would just think, oh my God, I'm not going to do that because people are going to judge me, because people are going to think I'm ugly or anything like that. Definitely learned to just run towards fear. I think you told me one time, God or the universe placed the best things in life on the other side of fear. And it's so true. It's so rewarding. Once you actively start doing things, you notice that it's not the way your brain makes it seem like it's the end of the world if you do things or if you put yourself out there. So that's definitely been another thing that I've learned that has helped me so much. Um, and also another thing is to not, like, I guess, let people get me out of my character, not put my power of my emotions and how I'm feeling and all these things in the hands of other people, basing my happiness off the people around me. Definitely to learn to give that to myself, and just love and appreciate myself, and to not settle for less in any area of my life. So that also has been something that has helped me so much. And the more I implement it, the more I do it, it keeps getting better. That's another thing for sure.
Oh my gosh, that's such powerful stuff. And like, I just can't believe you remembered my quote around fear because it's so true. It
Mhm.
is so
Yeah.
true. So can you tell the people who are listening or watching us talk right now, what are some fears that you knocked down?
One fear, well, I did a podcast and you shared it. One of my huge fears that I spoke with Vanessa about when I first started was just putting myself out there, on social media. I saw social media as like a negative place, and like, where people tear each other down and things like that. And I feel like that was more of like my fear of just not even wanting to do it. So I would just tell myself social media is a toxic place. That's why I'm not going to do it, to make myself feel better. But,
Mhm.
once I actually did it, I realized that it wasn't horrible. It was actually a super fun experience. And I was also working on some self-love, and I just, there's things about my face I didn't like, or angles and all these dumb things that I would stop myself from doing it. And once I actually did it, and I saw the video, and my mind had nothing but like positive and beautiful things to say about myself. That to me was like shocking, because I was expecting my brain to see what was the end result and think, oh my God, like I'm just gonna hate this, I'm gonna hate that. I was just being so negative. And definitely that's one of the fears that I conquered, just put myself out there, post that picture without that filter, just the raw beauty and acceptance of myself. That's definitely one of the things that I've conquered, that it has gotten easier. I still feel like there's times where there's a part of me that wants to hold back, but no, I hear it, but I'm like, no, I'm not gonna let it stop me. Like, I'm still gonna fucking do it. Like, and I do it, so that's another thing that I've learned from you, is that feeling of uncomfortableness is not gonna go away, to not expect it to go away. It'll go easier. And that's definitely something I've noticed, is getting easier and easier and easier as the time goes by. And so yeah, that's I feel like that's for me is the number one thing, because I've told you that I definitely want to do something like in the arts, whether it's acting or things like that, where I would have to put myself out there, and I can't be afraid or about being judged and things like that, because it's ultimately it's my life. And like I said, I don't want to hold back because of others. I want to do everything that I can for me and for my sake, and just for myself, and feel good about myself. And I've been doing that, and that feels nice.
I love it. I love it. I love what you said about how it's like it's always going to be uncomfortable. And what you realize is that, I don't know if you realize this, but like once you run more towards your fears, it's actually more uncomfortable to not to like it's actually more uncomfortable to stay in your comfort zone, that you're like, oh, it's uncomfortable that nothing's happening. Do you feel
Yes,
that?
yes, definitely 100%. It's crazy actually, like how true that was. I didn't realize it until I felt it. I know exactly what you mean, but the actual thought itself hadn't crossed my mind until you just said it. It's so true. But yeah, it's true. It is uncomfortable to just not do anything.
Insane. And like I also wanted to acknowledge, like, yeah, I remember when you filmed the podcast episode and you were so surprised that your brain didn't even say anything negative.
Yeah.
I even was surprised by your brain as well, because I was like, oh my gosh, my brain doesn't bloody do that. I was like, that's insane. But like, yeah, it's insane how like the power of our mind, like if we choose to think positive, if we choose to just not give a fuck, our
Yeah.
minds just gonna be like, oh shit, okay, well there's no fuel to like
Yeah.
bet on ourselves.
Yeah.
Nothing but love, nothing but love. So if you could give any advice to anyone who's just on the self-development journey, or someone who's in your spot 8 weeks ago, who's the version of you that exists 8 weeks ago, what would you want to tell those people, or tell yourself 8 weeks ago that you know now?
To definitely not pay not I don't want to say pay attention. I don't know if that's the right word, but no, not pay attention. To not take what's going on in your head as like the true like fact of, a lot of times when we are into our head, we feel like the thoughts that we're thinking are like, that's the fact, that's the truth, and so if your thoughts are based in fear, or any type of negative emotion, and you grip onto that and you feel like, that this is what is, that's not what is. I remember when I first started my sessions with you, I was like, I actually, before we started this meeting, I went into my Google Drive, because you send us our sessions. And I noticed that the thumbnails of the first two were crying. And then I imagine the rest were like, better. Well, they're better. And it's like, wow, it's so crazy to see the thumbnails of me crying and just like, like all devastated in the first ones, and just see the how I was progressing, And I just think about, at that time, what was really tearing me down was just like all these negative ideas I had about myself, and about what would happen if I put myself out there, and just I would take them and as the fact, as the truth. And I was just so down. And so if I could give any advice to myself, or anybody in my shoes, is you're not your thoughts, and you are not what is going on around you, and that's not going to be you forever. Literally, if you reach out for help, whether it's with the coach or anything that can better your mental health, exercise, or anything, it truly does get better. Like you're in the beginning, the habits that you try to implement, sometimes they feel silly or like they're not working, but truly like actually stick with it, like actually do it over and over and over again, even if you don't, and things do get better and your mindset really does start to shift. And I feel like that is a craziness, because I feel like back then when I would try to better myself, either I would not be consistent with it or not do it enough, and I would just do it like 3 times and I'd be like, oh, nothing's happening, I guess it doesn't work, and that's not how it is. It's like a constant every single day battle, and some days are hard, some days are not. I feel like that's another misconception. I guess I used to think, oh, once I start on my journey, it's all going to be rainbows, like it's all going to be good, and that's another misconception. Like, no, it's hard, and so don't get discouraged if you're doing good and then again you do bad. Get up again, keep going forward, and the universe is always, working in your favor, even when you're going down to the lows. It's, because it's going to bring you higher than ever before. So definitely would just say, you got this, keep going forward. And definitely it's okay to get help. It's okay to reach out if you feel like whatever you've been doing hasn't been working out. I definitely can say that I'm so glad that I reached out to you and that I started working with you, because sometimes, there's just so much you can do for yourself, and that's okay, to reach out and speak with someone that can, just help you. So yeah.
Oh, Vanessa. Oh, my heart is so full because thank you. Because I'm so grateful that we linked. Like, I just think like if it wasn't for TikTok, like if I never went through my fears of putting myself out there to start my TikTok, to be a mindset coach, to then meet you, none of like if I didn't go after my fears, you wouldn't have gone after your fears. It's like you change yourself and you change the world. Literally, that's how it works. And I just remember like just you 8 weeks ago, and like, I love the tears. I love when my clients break down and cry, because it's like we're releasing, we're shedding, we're breaking apart to build something better on top. And it's just amazing to see how much you've grown. You've been so consistent and so disciplined, and just really like, I love how much you trust the universe. That's also something I want to acknowledge in you, because I have full trust in the universe. Like I've got so many friends around me who are like, how can you not worry about money? How can you not worry about, your future? What's going to happen next week? Like, don't you want to plan anything? And I'm like, the universe will bring whatever it needs to me when it comes, and that's okay.
Definitely. That is so true. And it's so peaceful when you what's that word, like when you just accept that and you relinquish like that fight against control of everything. It's peaceful. It's nice to just trust that there's a higher power working in your favor 24/7. I just noticed that so much. Like, I just tell myself, like, I don't know why I fought it so much before, like just giving up to it and just letting it take over and accept that trust. Like, I feel like that has been the number one thing that has helped me moving forward, is just trusting that everything is already perfect now. If I want things to change, they will change when the time is right. Like, it's just, I literally, like, I could be going through it, but worrying and wanting to control the outcome are just things that I don't do anymore. And it's that takes a huge weight off your shoulders in general in growth, to not have to worry or to not have to want to control the outcome. That takes like the pressure off everything, and it makes it easier. And it's definitely helped me a lot.
Literally, I have in like my mind this vision of like you just carrying like 50 kilos on your back, and me just being like, just taking that 50 kilos off, being like, you can stretch and just look at the sky and just enjoy your walk. Like, you don't need 50 kilos. You just got to bring a water bottle and a snack. That's it. That's it. But here we are, always logging around 50, 100 kilos worth of like past traumas, our past, our worry, our fear, our anxiety, our doubt, all this shit.
Literally. For what?
And so I wanted to end this call on what quote you told me about worrying. Do you remember that quote you told me about worrying?
Yeah. The quote goes, worrying is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it won't take you anywhere. So yeah, that quote literally, yep, say lifesaver.
Girl,
Yeah.
girl. Because Vanessa
Yeah.
told me about that quote, and I remember I was just because as a mindset coach, I'm still human and like I
Yeah.
still worry and like, I still get in fear and all that stuff. When you told me that, I was like, it was like Uno reverse. I was like, oh my God, I've been in a rocking chair the last like 5 hours. And like,
Yeah.
for what? For what? I'm just rocking on it, literally just rocking on my own chair in my bedroom, worrying about nothing. So yeah, that quote will stick with me. Like when I think about that quote, I think of you and I'm like, yeah, there's no need to be stuck in a rocking chair. Just enjoy the present. It's fine. Nothing to worry about ever.
Literally.
So I just want to thank you again once more. I really appreciate you coming on an interview with me. And I can't wait to see how far you go. I can't wait for you to be a famous actor, famous podcaster, famous TikToker. Like, I can't wait to see you up there with me because boo boo, you will be. So, yeah, I just want to thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you. Seriously. I'm not gonna say I couldn't have done it without you because I know even if I didn't meet you some way, somehow, the growth would have happened. But definitely working with you has been so nice. And I feel like I can call you a friend. I think
Yep.
that's another thing that I love about coaching is that I didn't feel like because I've had therapists before, and it's a little similar that dynamic, the meetings and everything and talking about your emotions and things like that. So therapists sometimes feel just like kind of feels like a work, like you go and like it doesn't feel like there's really a connection there. But with you, I truly felt like, safe. I felt, heard. I felt understood. And that was all very important in me allowing myself to open up and be vulnerable and actually, take what you're telling me into consideration and put it into action. So thank you for creating that beautiful environment for me to grow and to, let all my feelings out and for you always holding
Always,
space for me. And
always.
I really, really appreciate you and everything that you've taught me. I'm gonna move forward with it and I'm gonna, help anyone I can too, with everything you
Always.
showed me and for the people around me that I love. It's a lot of stuff that you've taught me, I've actually showed to the people around me and it's helped them a lot as well. So,
Oh, I love
it's
it.
not you're not just reaching me, but it's so true how they say like once you work on yourself, it heals people around you and that's true. That's so true.
Definitely.